What's up, guys? I just got, we had this GT grade carbon force in for a little bit, and yeah, I think it's just plain awesome. Of course, it's got SRAM force, you can see on there, 22, which is just awesome, and the cassette is also 11 speed. What I initially thought, I thought this was a 20 speed, but engineering has come so far that SRAM has made it almost as if it looked like a 10 speed, but it's actually 11 speed, of course. According to GT's website, they named this almost as an Enduro Road, cyclocross bike, however you want to name it. And it's a bit unique in some ways, as you already know. Handlebars are a bit flared out, I think by 16 degrees. The front is a through axle. The rear is your traditional quick wheelie setup. SRAM force once again for calipers. By the way, they use .5.1 fluid, so it's not your traditional fluid or mineral fluid as for Shimano systems. Cockpit's a bit strange, but depending on what size you are, it may accompany you well. It's a bit longer. It's not like it's more of a road type stem. It's a bit long. Let me just grab the measuring tape real quick. Okay, so I got my measuring tape, as you can all see. So it's about 6 3/8. Convert that to millimeters. I don't have a converter right now, nor am I good at math. So that's what that stem would be. Again, it's a bit long, more of a roadie type stem. Geometry, I feel, is a little bit weird, a little bit awkward, but that comes with the territory of this bike that's this unique. And maybe as future model years come by, the geometry might change depending upon how many customers and customer feedback and support, etc. One thing I noticed while I was tinkering with the bike, for the front derailleur, moving down there, for the front derailleur, I think our lead mechanic was having a little bit of an issue because the derailleur wanted to pop. The chain wanted to go over the top chain ring here. It would just keep the chain would keep popping off the crankset. And one thing to resolve that is to make sure that right there. Let me just grab some light for a second. Hold on. There we go. Now I'm prepared. There's the cable. Here's the bottom bracket assembly right here, and there's that cable. Make sure that cable. Not that cable. I meant this cable is seated correctly for the front derailleur, because if not, you're going to have shifting issues. As far as with GT's cable routing setup, GT has normally had cable routing issues, and they've gotten more refined as the years have come, and this is a more recent system that they developed that I definitely like. It's like these little, I'm not quite sure what you call them, but basically like small clamps that use I think a 2 or 2.5 Allen in order to secure those clamps down. And what I like to do is make sure all this routing is nice and neat, and try to keep it as straight as possible. Eventually it's going to cross, but that's kind of how it is for GT. But as long as you have everything straight and everything properly secured, especially with SRAM components, it's going to definitely work out well, even in the long run. And even if you kind of neglect maintenance, which I don't suggest you do, but just look after it every once in a while, make sure everything's running right. Another issue we came across with this kind of system is that we were having big trouble with the front derailleur cable, and the process you would usually use for that in order to reroute a new cable it's basically as follows with any other system. But one thing we notice is that if you pull back the hood, give me a moment here. Sorry about that. As you can see there, that will be the hole for the shifter cable for you to pull out if you want to replace the shifter cable. But if you do happen to put a new one back in that same hole, what we noticed for this system, for the SRAM Force, we put the thread one back in, it's going to seem to kink, almost as if they're an elbow for attackers or a bike fitter like myself or whatever. It's a little bit hard to thread back through, so kind of take your time, make sure there aren't any customers or anything like that, or any kind of distractions, just because you kind of want to thread it, well, you do want to thread it correctly, of course, but it's going to take a little time in order to get that cable threaded through into the casing and down into the front derailleur. So make sure you do that correctly, because if you don't, again, you're going to run into some issues. And that's kind of a SRAM thing I found, is that if you don't make small adjustments to make everything correct, the system isn't going to run as smoothly as you would expect. Make sure you've again test ride whatever you're working on, or even, especially for a customer, if he or she walks in and they come purchase the bike, or they already put down the money for it, make sure everything's set correctly, so when they come through, they don't end up coming back for you to resolve that issue. Because possibly that, you know, deducts away from your time that you're spending on the project, and also as well as, you know, shop wise, it's like shop wise, we may have to give something, we don't want to give away money really in order to fix that small problem, or, you know, basically to relieve that customer tension that kind of built up because of that issue that he or she just put down the money for a new bike. You know, we want everything to be safe and smooth, and make sure that same customer comes back and more possibly buy another bike, you know, in the future, either for himself or his son or daughter or whatever. But yeah, that's what really I got to say about that. Going back to the GT for a little bit. Good design, great components as well. Sizing is a little bit different. It's not like small, medium, large. While they do label that here, there we go. While they do label here, I'm not sure you can see that L is for large. They measure, I think, from the top tube length. From the top tube length instead of seat tube length, which is a bit different just as well. But if you come to possibly look at this and even test ride it, just make sure that you get an idea of, in your head, what size you want when you come to possibly test ride it. Right, again, it's not measured by top tube, it's seat tube, it's a bit of a different sizing system, but yeah, other than that, it's a great bike, and something I wish to have in my stable possibly down the line. But yeah, that's really all much I gotta say about that. Yep, well, great bike.